Winston? Winston? Come back with that leg of lamb.
The Queen is opening up for the very first time the gardens at Buckingham Palace for people to tour the palace and have a picnic in the garden. That'd be amazing. I've put together a playlist of royal tea recipes, authentic tea recipes, scones, lemon cake, shortbread, Scotch eggs, dishes that I used to make for garden parties at Buckingham Palace. I catered many garden parties at Buckingham Palace for the Queen and actually even attended a few as well. The history of food fascinates me. We take for granted dishes that have been around for hundreds of years and never really ask, where did that come from, or who invented that dish, like the Scotch eggs. A hard-boiled egg enrobed in a deliciously seasoned pork sausage meat, coated with panko and deep fried until crispy. The ultimate picnic snack. London department store Fortnum & Mason's claimed to have invented Scotch eggs in 1738 as a little picnic snack for the aristocracy in their carriages riding along Piccadilly, picking up their Scotch eggs and going off to their homes in the country, and that gorgeous little snack along the way. I don't know if that's true. Others claim they were invented in Whitby in the 19th century, Whitby in the north of England, by William J. Scott and Sons, and they were called Scots or Scotties, but they were covered in fish paste. I'm not sure if I believe that one either. Scotch eggs? That's meat, right? It's also been suggested that they were called scorch eggs because in the Victorian times they were cooked over an open flame. Scorch eggs? That sounds like the Queen ordering lunch. I'd like to have some scorch eggs. In Mrs. Rundle's domestic cookbook in 1805, she talks about a Scotch egg that doesn't have breadcrumbs around it, that's actually cooked in a hot brown gravy, which leads me to wonder if it actually comes from an Indian dish called nargisi koftas. Lamb, seasoned, and then wrapped around an egg and cooked in like a curry creamy sauce. That sounds more like it to me because in the Victorian times, they didn't like spicy food, so the seasonings would have come out, and then the lamb would have been changed for pork because pork was cheaper at the time too. Deep fried because the Victorians loved fried food. That then would have been a sort of cheap comfort food dish, wouldn't it? I think that's where Scotch eggs came from. I don't know. I guess we'll never know who actually invented the Scotch egg, but I do know they taste delicious, and there's hundreds of different ways to make them. I've even seen them made with black pudding folded into the mixture. Absolutely delicious. At Eating Royally, my catering company here in Dallas, we do Scotch eggs. We wrap around quail's eggs, and they're the perfect little appetizer for little canopy parties and things like that. I'm going to share with you my favorite way to make them, with Thai green curry paste, a little chopped cilantro, and some crushed peanuts in there. And then once they're fried, served with a delicious sweet chili sauce. Oh my! I start off boiling the eggs, about 10 to 12 minutes for hard boiled. Plunge them into ice cold water when they're done. Shell the eggs and allow them to cool completely and dry with paper towel. In a mixing bowl, add the Italian sausage, the recipe's in the description below. Next, add the Thai green curry paste and add salt and pepper. The Italian sausage is already seasoned, but I always add a little more because the eggs don't have any seasoning at all, do they? Then onto the mixing machine to mix really well. You can do this by hand if you want to. You can use any sausage meat, ground lamb, even ground turkey, but I think ground pork works best. Once it's all combined, I'm going to take some peanuts, place them in a Ziploc bag and lightly crush with a rolling pin, not too small and not too chunky, and these will give me a real crunchy texture even once the Scotch eggs have gone cold. Once you're happy with the texture, you can add them to the mix. Then finely chop some fresh cilantro. This smells so good already. And add it to the sausage meat and then mix it again. You can chop it as fine or as coarse as you want. I like to leave it quite rustic. Next, take a handful of the meat and flatten it into the palms of your hand. Use a little flour to stop it sticking. Place an egg in the center and fold around the sausage until it covers the egg. Add a little flour if it starts getting sticky and form the nice round shape by rolling it into your hands. Repeat the steps with the remaining eggs. Now to panny the eggs. First into flour, then beaten eggs, and finally into the panko. You can use breadcrumbs if you want to, but I think panko's best. I've added a link to it in the description if you've never used it before. It's just Japanese breadcrumbs. This is the messy part, and it's great to get the kids involved in helping do this. Make sure you cover the eggs in the flour first, and then the eggs, and then the panko. Heat the fryer or a large pan of vegetable oil on the stove to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Drop the Scotch eggs into the hot oil and don't overcrowd the pan. Just cook them until they come out golden brown, just a couple of minutes. They won't be cooked all the way through yet. We'll finish them in the oven, so turn the oven on to 350 degrees Fahrenheit too. Place onto a wire rack on a baking sheet and then into the oven for about 6 to 8 minutes. Allow them to cool slightly before cutting them. The egg yolk should be nice and firm and not runny or molten, as some chefs say. Scotch eggs are picnic food. You don't want the cold yolks running down your chin at a picnic, do you? A little sweet chilli just to complement the Thai Scotch eggs with the peanuts and cilantro and chili paste in there too. As we move into the warmer weather and everyone's dining al fresco, I hope that you'll try some of the dishes on my playlist, the tea cakes, the royal tea cakes, and the Scotch eggs too. Even if you aren't one of the lucky ones having afternoon tea on the lawns at Buckingham Palace. They're so good. Thanks for subscribing. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below. I'll see you again soon.